Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. As always, it'd be amazing if you can like the videos if you're finding them helpful, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because the more people that subscribe, the bigger the channel gets, which makes me more accessible to people with OCD and anxiety, and the more people I can help, which is my ultimate goal. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about myself, because I've been having a few rough days myself with OCD, and I do consider myself healed. I think I'm on a continuing healing journey, but I've had a rough few days myself because it's not a straight line recovery from OCD. It's not linear. There's going to be many ups and downs. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. And I myself, I've had a few bad days. I've had a few intrusive thoughts. I've had a lot of real event kind of OCD, and I started on going down that whole rabbit hole with the rumination and trying to figure things out, working out, looking back on memories and things that have happened and trying to figure everything out and come to some kind of conclusion to make myself feel better, because I was feeling quite anxious and panicky the other day, and all because something happened and nothing bad. It was nothing bad that happened, but I found myself in a situation where I was questioning whether what I did was right, or even if I was capable of offending someone in the way I acted. And it was never my intention, and that's just not who I am. It's not in my nature to be like that. But I did start going down the whole rabbit hole with OCD and going in that rumination kind of looping thoughts. And it's an uncomfortable place to be, because I haven't been there for a while, I'll be honest about it. I've actually been very well now for quite some time, ever since I had my last real major breakdown, which was about 3.5 years ago. And it's been quite a while to get caught up in that thought loop of OCD intrusive thoughts. And once I found myself back in it again, you remember how horrible it truly is, how it just takes up all of your time and all of your thought space, and there just feels like there's no escape. And when you're caught up in it and it gets bigger and more stronger, it just feels like, how am I ever going to break out of this? It's really actually quite scary. And when you've not been there for a while, it's a humbling reminder of how terrifying it can be, OCD and anxiety, because once you're stuck and you're stuck with it, it feels literally like there's no escape. And it's not that I forget, because I've had it throughout all of my life, but when you're back there and you remember how just truly horrifying it is, and how uncomfortable and quite overwhelming it can be, because once you're stuck and you're feeling like that, it's just so lonely, because no one really knows what's going on in your head, and you feel quite powerless to stop it. It does feel, when in the moment when you're really stuck in it, it just feels like, what can I do? Where can I go from here? But then I remember, because I am on a healing journey and I know what to do, I know the steps to take, and when you're having a bad day with OCD, and I want you guys to always remember this, there is a way out. It doesn't feel like it in that moment when you're really struggling, but there is a way out. Just because you're having a bad day, a bad few days, I'd say it's been going on for a few days for me. And don't feel like it's always going to be that way. It's not. There's better days ahead. And just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean it's going to be a bad week. It's not going to be a bad month. It's not going to be a bad year. It just means that you're having, you've got caught up. You're having a bad, whatever, few minutes, few hours, few days. It doesn't matter, and I want you guys to understand that doesn't mean that you failed in any way. You know, there is a way back from this. It doesn't have to be the fact that, you know, I've got OCD and it's the way it's always going to be, because that is just not the case. You can heal from this. And I felt much better over the last day or so. And I think, you know, I'd got myself into a cycle, and I know I was doing it myself. I was looking for reassurance, and I was doing the whole kind of, you know, list of things we do with OCD, the rumination, the asking for reassurance, the trying to work out, over-analysing, and just trying to figure everything out, you know, what was said, what wasn't said, looking back into my memories. And I wasn't really coming up with a suitable answer. You know, there was nothing that was giving me assurance that, you know, because I know the thing that I was obsessing over happened. It's just I was looking for complete certainty that I hadn't offended someone, because that's always been my thing with OCD. It's always that I'm being the best I can be. And, you know I'm a good person, but, you know, I always worry that I've offended someone, or I could really upset someone, because that's just not in my nature to do that. And I guess that's why this type of OCD affects me so much, because that is just not who I am. And I had to really come back to what I talk about in my videos, which is giving myself compassion. You know, we're not perfect people. You know, humans, we have faults. We do things and we might not think about things at certain times, although generally I am the one to think about everything, and because I'm a very sensitive person, as I believe most people with OCD are, because we're just so sensitive to what's around us. But we're not perfect, and sometimes we make judgments and things that, you know, that we might not have thought about, and that's just being a human being. We all make, you know, small mistakes, big mistakes, whatever it is, we all make those things. And I had to give myself compassion, because at the end of the day, you know, that's really a big part of the healing journey, because, you know, we are all imperfect. You know, everybody is the same. You know, no one is absolutely perfect. We all make mistakes. And knowing who I am at my core, that would never be my intention to hurt anyone or offend anyone. And giving myself that compassion really releases a lot of that, because we don't deserve to be so hostile towards ourselves. And, you know, because I think with OCD we tend to be very self-critical as well, and especially with the way I look at the world and the way I look at other people. You know, I'm not someone that would want to hurt anyone or hurt anyone's feelings, and I think obviously because I got so obsessed over this situation that it really did become OCD. It took over OCD, and it was really trying to hijack the whole situation, whereas really what I needed to do was give myself compassion in that moment. You know, if I had made a mistake, which I don't think I did, but if I had, and someone had took offence, you know, it was never intended to be that way. And once I came back to that and really sat with that and thought, you know what, this is right, and this is part of my healing journey, is giving. It's not giving. I'm not making excuses for anything, you know, and I would never do anything on purpose, but, you know, I'm probably obsessing over it now, but what I'm trying to get across is the fact that, you know, that is not my intention, and it would never be that way. And giving myself that time to just say, you know, that's fine. I don't have to keep questioning everything. I don't have to, you know, I don't have to analyse. I don't have to ruminate. I don't have to ask for any more reassurance because of that. And I can let those questions that keep popping up in my mind on repeat, I can let them be there. And once I really got stuck into that cycle of OCD, it's very hard to break out. I have full sympathy with anyone going through this, because when you're hooked in, it's very, very hard, because they can be very quick and very loud OCD intrusions, and, you know, they can really get your attention, and before you know it, you're hooked in. You're answering that internal dialogue in your head, and trying to like look back on memories and what was said, what wasn't said, what happened. And especially with a real event OCD. So I really had to kind of go, nope, yep, I know you're trying to hook me in. I know you're trying to make me analyse and do all the things that were giving me a lot of discomfort. You know, I was feeling a lot of negative emotions. I was feeling a lot of frustration and, you know, and hostility towards myself and the way I could have done something that was unintended. And, you know, I was really being very down on myself, and that's not a good place to be, because you find yourself not doing anything. I was spent the last few days just kind of just not really living my life fully. I was just kind of hanging around and thinking a lot and going over situations, and it's not productive, and it's not where we deserve to be, because that's OCD. OCD just wants to hijack your life and take control, and I had to really remember all the work I've done and all the work I talk about in my videos, and say, well, you know, I've had a bad few days, and there was a lot of heightened emotions because of, without going into too many details, but you know, there's a lot of heightened emotions over what was going on, and yeah, I slipped up and I got hooked in, but that's fine. You know, just because we get hooked in one day doesn't mean it's going to be forever. And I want to really make that clear to you. So if you're having a bad day, a bad week with your OCD and anxiety, just know you can come back from that. It's not going to be forever. We just have to remember the things we're learning in our healing journey. And like I said, it's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some days where you fall off a little bit, and you start getting hooked into some of those things, and it's not going to be forever. Just because you've had a bad day, it doesn't mean that you failed on your recovery journey. It just means we just need to remember the things that we should be doing, and recognizing that this is OCD, and that this is how OCD will try and get back in our lives again. And we, like I said, have that compassion for yourself, that's likely to happen, and that's okay, because we can get back on track. And this is where I'm finding myself in the last couple of days. I'm just remembering everything I need to do. And it's funny how it really just kind of swept me away in a way that it hadn't for a long time. But like I said, probably a lot of emotions that going around, and a little bit of stress and things. And it just, like I said, you know, these things just sometimes overtake ourselves, and we find ourselves back where we don't really want to be, and where it's not comfortable, and where, you know, where we don't deserve to be, because OCD is trying to just to hook you back, and it's can be very successful at it sometimes. But we have to remember that these are the opportunities that we can use to actually move forward, and remember all the work that we can do to actually heal and get back to where we should be and where we deserve to be. So just remember, having a bad day doesn't equal you failed or it's going to be forever. We can get back on track. Use those bad days as opportunities to remember the work that we can do to actually heal and get better. So letting those thoughts be there, you know, not getting involved when these inner dialogues and questions pop up, intrusive thoughts, they're all just intrusions trying to hook you back in, little hooks. Just think of them, just trying to hook you back in, and getting wrapped up in that whole OCD cycle where it just gets stronger and bigger the more we involve ourselves. So once I became aware of that inner dialogue and the fact that I'm going over old ground and old memories, it was easy for me to then go, when it happened again, I was just getting quicker at thinking, no, there you go again, just trying to hook me back in. And I found myself having a much better day the last couple of days, because I'm back where I know I can be and where you guys can be. So just remember all the points I made today, that you can get back on track. So I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.